I'm either the dogs or the cats. The dogs run around in packs. They bark a lot. Each one tries to become the top dog. But the cats are solitary. They like to mark territory as their own, so the other cats will stay out. And among professors of transportation planning, the dogs chase after moving cars, or they ride around in cars with their heads hanging out the windows, excited by speed. The cats do not like riding around in cars, so they never hang their heads up. Cats instead inspect all of the parked cars, and they mark the tires. Also, when you're sleeping on the hood of the newly parked car where the engine is still warm, cars are parked 95% of the time. So while dogs chase after the cars during 5% of the time that they're moving, I thought I could learn something about the 95% of the time that the cars are parked. So Tom Vanderbilt and I divided it up. He gets the 5% of the time the cars are moving. I get the other 95% of the time. And I think that parking is very important for many reasons. A group this large, several of you were probably even conceived in a parked car. I was surprised to learn that I had been called a parking rock star, which of course not a real rock star, but still I'm thinking of changing my name to Shoup Dog. It's also an honor for California, especially Los Angeles, to be asked to talk about transportation planning in Connecticut or New England, because here's the view that most English students seem to have of California. And it is true that we paved a lot over with parking lots. And these students think that we've even chopped down all the redwood trees to build gas stations. There are some. But I think, like California, too much of urban America looks like this picture of Silicon Valley. There's a light rail line in the lower right-hand corner of this picture, but you couldn't call it transit-oriented development. We tend to ignore this asphalt light in our life, especially when we're parked free in it, as all of these cars are at 2 o'clock on a weekday afternoon. But parking is free to us only in our role as motorists, of course. Just because we don't pay for parking doesn't mean the costs cease to exist. We pay for all this parking dearly in every other aspect of our life, as a homeowner, as an employee, as a taxpayer, as a citizen. But Silicon Valley and California are not the only places where parking dominates the landscape. Here's a picture of New Haven. There's a lot of parking in that. Let me see, I think I have 2 pictures of New Haven. Let's see, here's one. Yes, where is this? I think you can see the Temple Street Garage in the picture of the connector, which was built when I was a student, which really seems to be more of a divider. And here's another view of the part of the city. There's an awful lot of parking in New Haven. If more parking were the solution to urban problems, New Haven would be a very prosperous city. Here's a parking garage that was built when I was a student. It's quite a wonderful piece of sculpture. It works very well as a garage, but I don't think we should tell ourselves that more parking is going to solve many of our problems. It was built, of course, as part of an urban renewal project. Large parts of New Haven were torn down to provide the space for this. The shopping center that I can remember being built has already been torn down right next to the parking structure. I'd like to start with some background. I think for both Tom's and my talk is that our automobiles by themselves consume 1/8 of the world's oil supply every day. We import 2/3 of this oil. We're paying for it with borrowed money. We have more vehicles than cars, and it doesn't seem like it when you're a student or a faculty member at Yale. but American drivers park free for 99% at the end of all of their trips. And I don't think this is sustainable. And the question is, are we going to have a hard landing, or can we figure a way to solve some of our problems? I think we can. I think we've made two big mistakes. One is to keep curb parking free or cheap, and to require lots of off-street parking. Here's the parking requirements in the city of New Haven, which are quite modest compared to most cities' parking requirements. They look very scientific. Somebody must know how many parking spaces a vocational trade or business school needs. Or a game room, as defined in section 42.2. Well, I think if you asked any of these planners where those numbers came from, none of them could explain a single one of these numbers. It looks I think that the pretense to knowledge of us planners, that we can tell you how many parking spaces must be supplied before anything can be built, or any business can be opened, has done a lot of harm. That I think it's created a great planning disaster, which Peter Hall defined as something that costs a lot of money and is going seriously wrong. I think that all of this parking skews all of our travel choices toward the car as a natural way to get where you want to go. It causes a lot of sprawl. It spreads buildings apart, provides parking between them. A lot of the building's design is degraded by having to provide all of the parking. It makes housing more expensive because it has to include the cost of the parking. This is something that even many planners don't understand. It makes it very difficult to reuse older buildings, because if you want to open a restaurant in a former shoe store, the planners will say, well, where's the required parking? And if you don't have the required parking, you can't open the restaurant. So older buildings can't fulfill the role that they could in the city. It limits home ownership. It's very difficult to convert apartment buildings where people rent into condominiums that they can own. It damages the urban economy. I think it's done that in New Haven. You don't have to explain the fact that it harms the environment. So some cities are solving this problem in a new way, is to get the price of parking right. Here's some of the reforms that are going on. Is to charge the right price for curb parking. By that I mean the lowest price you can charge and have 1 or 2 vacant spaces on every block. That's about an 85% occupancy rate. So the parking is well used, it's almost full, but it's readily available. Anybody driving down any street in your city can always see 1 or 2 open spaces ready to park in front of any store or restaurant so that you can go in. And cities have made this politically popular by returning the meter revenue to the neighborhoods that generate it. If you pay parking meters and charge these performance prices for parking, you'll get the revenue. And that has tended to make it very popular with the merchants and the landowners and the residents who benefit from the added public services in their neighborhoods. And once you do that, you can remove or reduce at least the minimum parking requirements, because you won't have to, nobody can say there's not enough parking, because wherever you go, you'll see plenty of parking. And I think this freedom from parking requirements would mean you could use any building for any business that's legal. Now, here's an example of what they're doing in San Francisco. They're starting this policy, and this is just an example of the prices that they expect to charge. The prices will be the lowest price they can charge at any hour and still have 1 or 2 vacant spaces on every block. So it will be different at different times of day. It can be different on different parts of the city. It can be higher at the second hour. It's once you say that we have a principle, that we understand this is the price that we want, the price that will lead to convenient parking and well-used parking, that's how we're going to set the price. We're not going to let just inertia set price.